Hey friends, thanks for being here today at Non-Toxic Home. Coming at you from our non-toxic home. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about mast cell activation syndrome. Now, a lot of the mast cell groups, if you talk about some of your symptoms, you'll have some people that no matter what the symptom, no matter what the situation, they will declare it is mold. The problem is mold. It's mold, 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 mold. Almost the only word in their vocabulary is mold. Now, I understand that mold can be a mast cell trigger. And for many of the warriors who battle this weird disease or illness, diagnosis, whatever you want to call it, mold does come into play. And quite frankly, mold is a huge, indescribably massive problem, quite frankly, an epidemic here in the United States, and from what I understand, around the world as well. However, I'm not a world traveler, so I can't speak from experience there. Our buildings are not built as they should, they're not maintained as they should, and occupants do not understand basic building science or building biology to ensure that adequate ventilation occurs at the essential moments in time. As a result, most buildings and homes are indeed moldy, and water damage is a huge problem. If you spend any amount of time researching building science or looking at moisture intrusion, driving down the street, you'll see one building after another that undoubtedly has mold because of the apparent water damage. So understand when I say I understand that mold can trigger mast cell activation syndrome. However, it's not the same thing, friends. Mast cell activation syndrome and mold illness are not the same things diagnostically. I think some people get the two confused, and many in the mold community seem to assume that because they have problems with mold, they automatically have mast cell activation syndrome. That's simply not accurate. That's not diagnostically accurate. That's not anecdotally accurate. It's just wrong, unfortunately. And one of the problems that we come across with this is that many in the mold community assume that if they address their mold and mycotoxin issues, that any improvement that they have also means that they've healed themselves of mast cell activation syndrome. However, these same individuals were never properly diagnosed in the first place with mast cell activation syndrome. So you can't declare yourself to be miraculously healed if you've never been diagnosed, right? How does that make any sense whatsoever? There are even some holistic practitioners out there who make this declaration erroneously, and they publicly state that they were never professionally diagnosed. Mast cell activation syndrome is extremely complex. It's not straightforward. It presents differently in every single subject, and it's not well understood. So to declare that you've been healed of something that you haven't even been diagnosed with is very problematic. And to declare that someone can heal themselves of this diagnosis just by getting out of mold and ditching their mycotoxin contaminated products is also not accurate. I, for one, have not been able to verify anyone who has been properly diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome who has in fact cured themselves. Not one. Not one. Now, a lot of people improve. I'm improving. I have been improving for years. I can eat again, folks. I wasn't able to eat for 8 months, or maybe even longer, at least 8 months for certain. I didn't move for vast periods of time except to go to the bathroom. I was using 5 to 7 EpiPens a week. That's not even an exaggeration. Some people get worse than I do, or than I did. Some people don't. Everybody's different. But the fact of the matter is that mast cell activation syndrome is a diagnosis of exclusion. That means that you'll have to have a plethora of diagnostic tests conducted on you. That means lots of blood tests, perhaps some invasive tests, perhaps some very painful tests, depending on your symptoms and your diagnostic history. So just because a person has problems with mold doesn't mean that they automatically have mast cell activation syndrome. I hope this may have cleared up a bit of some of the misconceptions about the two issues and that you learned a bit from this video. If so, please like, subscribe, comment, and share in your groups that are relevant to these two topics. Thanks so much for being here, friends. I really value your time. I value your feedback, your questions, your comments, and thank you so much for the emails encouraging me to just keep going on. Thanks so much, folks. Have a blessed day.